Don't put anything on your balls. Any topical ointment on your balls is unnecessary.
To be honest, the dead baby would probably be more practical. Hello, this is Dan Heisenberg White, and you're plugged in for another extraordinary episode of the Never Ever Show. Today's guest is a man who hosts a variety of all sorts of exciting content on his channel, from his humble roots as an 18th century farmhand on the banks of the Mississippi River. My guest today dabbles in drama, commentary, gaming, reviews, news, and much, much more. He's a promising up-and-comer who you should get in on before he gets too big and leaves us all in the dust to rot and die. Please welcome my friend, Digital Goon. How's it going, Mr. Goon?
What's going on, Heisenberg?
Pleasure. Thank you. I'm so glad we could coordinate and do this. I know we lead relatively busy lives, but at the same time, we're sort of trapped in this stationary moment with the quarantine going on, so it's just a lot of chaos happening in a very small space. So I understand that it's not easy to try to, on top of everything in your real life, try to put out some fun YouTube stuff on top of that. But it is a passion for both of us, YouTube, and we were talking a little bit before we started going live here. I'd like to ask you first, before I get into my real questions that I had planned, what does it mean to be a YouTuber for you, and what has your experience been like on the platform?
To be fair, it started out kind of frustrating because I guess you get this expectation in your head that it's just a super easy thing to do. You just plop down in front of a camera and a microphone and start recording anything you want to. And while that may have been true, back when the platform started, it doesn't work that way now, and it's not as easy as it looks. And I think that, a lot of people kind of think that it's just something simple to do, and it's really not, and there's a lot of work that goes into it. It takes some serious dedication and a lot of effort, so if you're not willing to put in the effort and the work, it's not for you. It's a dedicated, serious platform in a lot of ways, but also not. I've had a lot of fun doing collaborations with people like yourself and Wes Mose, and I've become friends with Baked Salmon and other people that are a part of the TCAP community. I've had interactions with Chris Hansen and people affiliated with him, so it's been an interesting experience. I've also had interactions with people outside of that TCAP community that reach a bit of a broader range. People like trying to think of who I could give you as an example. I've had interactions with Mr. Gigi. I've had interactions with I'm trying to remember how to say her username correctly, and I don't want to get this wrong. Cecil McFly, and a couple smaller people like you and myself.
They're all up and coming, though. Those are all going to be, if they keep making the type of content that they've been making, from as small as me all the way to as big as Mr. Gigi, it's just nice to network a little bit. Associate with people who recognize what it takes to run and operate a successful channel, and know that it's a slow climb.
Right, and it's you build these relationships. For me, it's not just networking so much anymore, as much as it is like I feel like I'm actually building friendships with some of these people, because some of these individuals I talk to on a regular basis. I frequently talk to Wes. I frequently talk to It's Not Rocket Surgery. There are people within the community that I interact with frequently, so it's just that kind of leads into the not so serious portion of being a YouTuber, because that's kind of what makes it fun for me, is those interactions with those people, interacting with people in my comment section. It's a serious task if you really want it to work, but it can be fun.
YouTube is the only thing, and especially with this show, that in my life I've found the saying, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life.
Right.
Where I will spend hours plugging away at editing and edits and not get tired of it. because I know I'm making something that I made, and people are going to see it and enjoy it, and it's just fun. And you're right, I've made some serious friends through this platform, which is nice. Can I ask, do you consider yourself to be a grounded realist or a hopeful optimist in terms of where you would like your channel to grow in the next couple of years?
Probably a grounded realist. I feel like I'm pretty much a realist in every aspect of my life, as much as I possibly can be. I like to joke and poke fun and things like that, but at the end of the day, I consider myself a pretty serious person, and I try to think of things rationally and realistically versus illogically and emotionally. So
great. Yep. I consider myself to be a realist when it comes to my own channel, but when it comes to friends of mine who make content that I really like, they get bothered when I tell them, like, yo, this point next year, you're going to have 1 million subs. And they're like, shut up. Yeah, I'm like, no, I believe it, man. Like, you're going to do it. They're like, I doubt it. But of course, with me, like, right. I wouldn't say that about myself, but I really believe in, I think I've surrounded myself with some really inspiring and creative people that are really going to succeed. Okay, I want to ask you just a couple of questions, and then after we're done, we can discuss what our homework assignments are going to be. Things to check out. Are you ready?
Yep, sure.
Great. First, I'd like to know, when you were a kid, think back to your childhood, what was something that seemed so cool about being an adult that now you look back on it and it isn't what it was supposed to be, or was even better?
Oh man, this is going to be the most generic answer probably ever, but the coolest thing I could think of when I was a kid was being able to drive a car. I don't know why, but it just seemed like, I don't know. I was born in the 80s. I grew up in the early 90s, and, looking back on that aesthetic of cool guys driving cool cars just seemed like a cool thing to me. Becoming an adult and owning my own car, having to make a car payment, pay for car insurance, and put gas in that car. And even though I own a relatively cool car, I drive, a Subaru WRX, it's just, it feels like work to drive. When I was a teenager and I first got my license, all my friends wanted me to drive for them, so I essentially became a taxi service for most of the friends that didn't have their license or didn't have a car. So the idea of having fun driving quickly went away pretty quick into my late teens and early adulthood.
Yeah, that first time driving by yourself is wild. It's a great feeling. And fortunately for me, my first car was a 2-seater / 3-seater pickup truck, so I never had to haul around too many of my friends at once, which was nice, except unless somebody needed help moving, and then then I'm the guy with the truck and then I gotta help them. But
right,
driving is a luxury, and it's something I've learned to appreciate over the last couple of years because of the nature of my job outside of this. I travel a lot for work, and just being on the road by myself for long periods of time, getting to control the music, the speed at which I go, the sights I see, the places I want to stop at, just being in control, it's nice. It's almost a form of meditation, to be honest. It's just nice to unplug for a little bit, take your eyes off the screen every now and then. So
to capitalize on what you said there, in my profession outside of doing things like this, I drive a lot. Essentially, that is the main part of my job. So I drive all day long, and then when I have a day off from work, I have to run errands, so I'm driving again. So I'm such a homebody at this point. I know that sounds incredibly lazy, but sometimes this pandemic is a bit of peace.
I agree. When you're driving, it takes a lot of mental energy. You don't even realize it when it's happening, but you're constantly paying attention to the road, that when you're done, you're off the road, you just want to relax. And an extended period to do that, like we've sort of been forced into, has kind of not been as bad as I thought it would be, to be honest.
Right.
My next question, I don't know if you're much of a sports guy, but if you could change one rule about any major sport to make it completely impractical and chaotic, what would you change and why? Oh
man, I am not a sports guy at all, believe it or not. So it is hard for me to even think of a rule that I would change.
Some sort of twist on a sport you are aware of that, if they did it, you would actually kind of be interested to see.
I don't know if so much I would remove a rule as much as an object. So let's say basketball. You have the goal and you have the backboard. Remove the backboard and leave only the goal. makes it harder to make shots, makes the players a little bit more stressed, and have to be a bit more of a perfectionist.
What about competitive figure skating, but no one's allowed to wear ice skates?
Oh, that would be interesting.
They just have to wear their shoes and just do their best.
Better yet, bare feet.
Oh, God. That would be awful.
That would be terrible.
Blindfolded bowling.
Right. Playing football with a banana.
Yes, instead of a live baby.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, that's as opposed to a not live baby. I didn't say that.
Well,
I didn't say
to
that.
be honest, the dead baby would probably be more practical.
I didn't say that. That's
All right.
Yep. Nope. That didn't happen.
Speaking of death, do you believe in the afterlife or in reincarnation? Reincarnation.
I believe in possibly both, but I don't know for certain. I feel like reincarnation is a possibility, and the reason why I say something like that is because ever since I was a child, I've had this deep fascination with Asian culture and Japanese culture. And I mean, this stems back from like early childhood, like as early as between the ages of 6 and 8 years old. I don't know if that's because when I was growing up as a kid, anime was regularly on television and it just seemed like another kind of cartoon to me, or if there was really truly some kind of serious fascination there. But I discovered, like, kind of in the last few years, I follow different types of social media platforms. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, I'm on YouTube. I think the only places that I'm not at are Periscope and Snapchat and things like that. And when I see images of like locations in Japan, for instance, I get this feeling of being homesick. And it's strange to feel that way for a place you've never been before. I've never left this country. I don't feel that way when I look at pictures of other locations. Obviously I do have a fascination with seeing other countries and saying, oh, it would be nice to go there. But I full-heartedly believe if I ever traveled to Japan, I probably wouldn't come back. I would probably stay there.
Yeah. It's just this inexplicable part of you that identifies with this place
right.
You've never even been. And it's like the craziest, but also, a plausible explanation for that is that it was a home
right.
in a past life like that. I think it's possible that humans can reincarnate into other humans. People carry memories or characteristics of people from the past that
right.
they just can't explain. They just don't make sense. I don't think we can come back as animals, because if we could, there'd be like way more sharks in the world, because everybody would want to be a shark. Or like some other really, like there'd be so many like jaguars or something badass
right.
like that.
Yeah, everybody would want to be something really cool.
Unless it's really awesome to be a mosquito, and I just don't know.
Right, or a fly, like you get to live for a day, you get to fuck off and do whatever. Excuse me, can I swear?
You absolutely fucking may.
Okay. You just get to fuck off for an entire day eating like, what the hell ever you want to, and then you just die. That's it. You just live your best life for what is it, even a day? Or how long do flies live?
Is it like between 1 and 2 or 3 days, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it's either that or...
Isn't that wild?
I think it's a day, yeah. Something like that.
Huh. Flies got it figured out.
Yeah, I bet that feels like an eternity to them.
What? Well, this is topical. What is your favorite curse word?
Fuck.
Nice. It's just so versatile.
Oh, wait, can I take that back? I do like the F word, but one of my favorite ones to use that I don't think gets used enough is cunt. Now people have hard opinions about that word because they oftentimes associate it with gender, but I don't. Anybody can be a cunt, and it has nothing to do with genitalia.
It cuts deep as is fuck. And the fun thing about both is that it's even better when you add other bits to the words.
Right.
You're like, a dumb fuck or a fuck nugget or something like that.
Or you're cunt blaster or Yeah, that's the other reason I really, really like that word is because I've always been very big into comedy. You know, I used to literally buy like stand-up comedy CDs. That's an archaic statement right there by itself. And I would listen to guys like Dane Cook and who's another one that I'm thinking of? Daniel Tosh. I like some of the edgier guys. Anthony Jeselnik. Trying to think of another one. Oh,
Those are all
he's
great.
been canceled, but Louis C.K. is the one I'm thinking of, who said that there's just certain words that we should be allowed to use, and he said his statement was, cunt was one of his favorite words, to the point that where he sings it while he's doing laundry. It's just a fun word to say, and it's crunchy and round on the ends like a piece of chocolate.
An apt analogy.
So...
Okay.
Right. I thought that was a pretty interesting take or description of a word.
Next, consider your current employment outside of YouTube and possibly, potentially, this experience here online turning into a source of revenue for you. Assuming neither were an option, what is a job you would absolutely never want to do?
Oh, man. You know those guys who work at like what is it called? The water purification
Sewage
plants
processing,
where they reclaim water, sewage processing. There we go. Sorry, my brain is all over the place today, man. Yeah, I would not want to do that. If you've ever watched Dirty Jobs or seen, there was another docu-style series that I'd seen where, these guys have to dress up in these suits and they have to literally dive into this sewage and they have zero visibility. And they're essentially doing like an underwater welding job in this sewage. No thanks. Never would I ever want to do that.
On the one hand, I jump immediately to smell too.
Right.
I would not want to work in a septic business or in sewers or anything like that. But as somebody who's also worked in retail and customer service, I just can't go back. Unless I have to, and it's the only thing that's gonna pay me, I just can't deal with customer service people anymore.
I did retail for 5 years myself, so I know exactly how you feel about that.
And I think everybody should have to do it at least once, just to not be a cunt. When you're dealing with a fucking teenager making minimum wage and you feel like they've offended your great ancestor because they gave your change back to you in a dramatic way that you didn't like or something like that. Some bullshit. Some made up bullshit.
Yeah.
People just love to be victims.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because either they're after something physical, they want money, they want free merchandise, or they just want attention and recognition and sympathy. So.
Yeah, I don't get the this hive mind mindset that everybody's entitled to something and the world owes us everything we want. The world owes you nothing unless you contribute something deserving of being owed what it is you're expecting. You're not entitled to anything.
It's a generational thing, I think. If I'm ever at a store and there's a long line and there's one kid working and it's obviously short-staffed, I'm not gonna get up and be like, oh, finally, give him attitude. No, this poor kid whose manager probably fucked him over isn't even here to help.
Right.
I'm not about to ruin his day, which is already stressful enough, which would not help me in my situation at all anyway. I just want to get my shit and get out, so I'm just gonna be like, hey, and just treat it like normal. But no, some people love to voice their stupid, shitty opinion.
That's actually something that happened to a store clerk local to me. There's literally a gas station that's walking distance from where I stay, and it's a very, very small gas station. It's not a mom and pop place. It's a recognizable brand, but it's a very small store. And with all of the restrictions that we have with social distancing and keeping, store capacities down to a certain volume, with one person working the register at a busy gas station next to a busy McDonald's, and there are actually people in the line getting upset because it's taking them longer than they expected to get to the register. Just chill out. You see there's one person working.
Yeah, like it's his fault.
Right.
He's
like
got
they
the money.
wanted to be the only person there.
He's got the money. It takes 1 second to check him out, but he's like walking and moving super slow for no reason.
Right.
That's when you can get mad at somebody.
Right.
But that usually is never the case.
Yep.
What movie do you think you could recite the most lines from your memory?
Ooh. That's hard, man, because I used to be able to, Anchorman, easy.
Nice. Okay. That's got to be on a lot of people's list, probably.
60% of the time, it works every time.
Probably. If you could give everyone a piece of advice, a piece of life advice, what would it be?
Do not, well, no, let me not go there. That one's personal. Oh, a great piece of advice.
Do not put icy hot on your balls.
No comment. No comment on that one. Don't put Nair on your balls. How about that one?
Don't put
anything on your balls. Any topical ointment on your balls is unnecessary. Exactly. Yes. If you've got really bad psoriasis on your testicles and you need that ointment to get rid of that dry, flaky skin, absolutely do it. But if it's not prescription, just keep unnecessary things off of your junk.
What else would you say?
Don't fuck a vacuum. Not that I ever have.
Well, that's just good advice for anybody. Yeah.
I went to in my mid-20s I went to school for EMT basic training. And I was required to purchase a pretty large medical book. And if you've never seen a degloved penis, you're not missing out.
Oh.
So don't, yeah. Do you know what a degloving is?
I'm going to guess that the skin is peeled off or something like that?
Yeah.
What is this, some sort of industrial vacuum cleaner?
I don't know. I don't even know what possessed this person to think it was a good idea.
Well, I'll tell you. I mean, pretty obvious. Just suck equals, suck plus penis equals good time.
Give me the suck.
Give me the suck. Yes.
You will suck me?
Nice TCAP reference. Who is a musical artist that you are aware of but more people should know about?
So this one is a bit of a personal one. I have a tendency to listen to a pretty wide variety of music, I would say. I feel like a lot of people are like that, but
I believe that to be true. I'm not doubting you, but I've never heard anyone be like, I listen to country and that's it, and that's the only thing I listen to. It's like, if that might be true, everybody's, I like a little bit of everything, but I'm curious to see what your answer is now.
So I do listen to a variety of music. However, my main shtick has always been like the hardcore and the punk genre of music. And over the last, I'd say, several years, my taste has kind of went across the pond to like UK, United Kingdom melodic hardcore. And I noticed a trend with a lot of bands that were within that genre from the United Kingdom was that it seemed like there was a lot more passion in their music and a lot more heartfelt emotion that was put into it. It's hard to explain it, but growing up as a former vocalist, and I also have taught myself to play drums. I'm not a drummer, but one of my future goals is to buy a drum set and continue to teach myself how to play. I've been pretty passionate about music, and so finding bands that felt organic and real was kind of a new thing for me. And so there's a band that unfortunately is no longer together, but the band name was Casey, Casey, and they were a melodic hardcore band. So there's going to be some harsh screaming vocals, but if you listen to the music, you can just hear the emotion that's put into it. And if you sit down and you actually read the lyrics, you find out that the guy that's doing the screaming and the singing is telling you his own personal story. And it's his legitimate story about his struggles with mental health and physical illness, and falling in love at a young age, and dealing with the heartbreak that came from those relationships falling apart, dealing with his struggles with his, depression and his physical illness and car accidents that left him pretty damaged. It's not to go like in a sad direction, but it's the two albums that they put together were quite passionate and very, very heartfelt, and I made a personal connection with that, like a really serious personal connection with those two particular albums.
That sounds super familiar.
I took such a personal connection with it that the first major album they released, I actually have part of the artwork tattooed on my forearm.
Wow, nice.
Yeah. I still occasionally listen to those two albums and I've actually, through social media, been able to talk to that vocalist. I'm trying to recall his name right now. Tom Weaver. Oh. Tom Weaver's his name. Yeah.
That's pretty sweet.
Yep.
That's nice. Every time I come into contact with a band that is way past existing, I feel bad. I feel like I missed out, and it's super awkward to say you've just discovered them, as they're you've never heard of that before. They've been around since the 90s. And I'm like, okay, well, right. Sorry, I don't know everything about everything. Jeez.
That's the irony with a lot of those UK melodic hardcore bands too, is that a lot of times you discover them after they're already done. But you find pretty commonly, which you also find here in the States with heavy metal and black metal bands and melodic hardcore or metalcore and things like that, is that when those bands split up, sometimes those members branch off and they form another band, or they end up in a completely new band altogether. So being able to see those people kind of come back in a new format is always interesting.
Think to some of the television shows that you've watched, not necessarily from beginning to end, but that you've been heavily invested in. Which TV shows do you believe were perfectly cast and could never be replicated in a million years?
Okay, so not that I'm plugging your username, but Breaking Bad, I don't think could have been done the same way with a different cast of characters. And I even think that the show had a perfect ending, and they gave us a movie to follow up everything. And I feel like that wasn't even necessary, but even the movie was fantastic. El Camino was great. Breaking Bad was great. Let me think of another one.
You've been watching Better Call Saul?
I wanted to. I couldn't get into it for some reason.
I fell in and out of it for years, and just this last couple of weeks, I finally caught all the way up, and it reminded me of why I liked Breaking Bad so much. It's just Vince Gilligan just knows how to tell a story like no one else.
Yeah.
And to speak to the similarities between Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad, the casting of the lead as a traditionally comedic actor in a drama role was genius.
Right.
Because everybody doubted him.
Right.
There's no way that this guy's going to turn into some sort of manipulative, clever badass that I like following for years and years. It's just the goofy dad from Malcolm in the Middle, or the guy from Mr. Show.
Right.
What is this? And they defied all the expectations.
They did. Jim Carrey did a similar thing. He was always known as the goofy, funny guy, who did comedy movies. Ace Ventura is probably, that's the first movie that comes to mind for me when it comes to, Jim Carrey. But he did serious roles as well. And
The Truman Show is one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, it was a really, really, that was a great movie. It was,
Jim Carrey at his mildest in terms of comedy, but otherwise giving a great performance.
Let me try to think of at least one more show though that I think I enjoyed all the way through, because I feel like Breaking Bad was the easy kind of kiss your ass answer. I'm trying to think of another one that I enjoyed through and through from beginning to end. Okay, maybe I can't find one that I enjoyed from beginning to end, but I did enjoy the vast majority of this show. Dexter was a really, really good one for me.
Oh, that was unfortunately going to be one of my answers too.
Yeah.
And I say unfortunately because what an incredible first 2/3 of the series.
Yeah, absolutely. The interesting thing is like, I don't want to dox myself here, but the man who plays Dexter, Michael C. Hall, that's what it is. He's from the state that I live in. His mother is a teacher here within this state that I live in. And Yeah, he went to school here. He was also a theater actor. And I don't know if a lot of other people know this, but he did another show outside of Dexter called 6 Feet Under, if I'm not mistaken.
Never heard of it.
So that it was, I didn't never watch it, but I heard it was pretty decent. It was an HBO show, so the production value was there. And I believe he played a gay man who worked in a funeral parlor or a funeral home, something along those lines.
He's got that weird monotone kind of vibe that I would believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was another thing that got me interested in trying a Cubano. I've never heard a sandwich. I even read some of the books, and I've never seen written word make me hungry before. So,
well, that's good writing then, I guess.
Yeah.
My last question for you, and you may have had some time recently to think about this in quarantine. I don't know. I understand you have kids or are part of a larger family. I'm curious.
Right.
What is your go-to favorite board game of all time?
Oh man, we don't play too many board games. Unfortunately, it's hard to get the kids interested sometimes in those. Let me think of one that we had played together recently, where we had a lot of fun doing it. Oh man, I just put one away too recently. It's a fairly newer game. It's called Googly Eyes, and it's like color coordinated, and you have like 2 sets of cards. I'm trying to remember how to describe the rules because we only played it like once or twice, but we had a lot of fun with it. You get these different colored cards, and depending on what color you have depends on what type of lens you have to put in the glasses. The lenses determine the difficulty. So I think there's like a blue lens, a green lens, and maybe a yellow lens. And they, there's no way to determine what color you're going to get because your color is picked based on where you land on the board. So you would roll a dice, and then you'd count the number of spaces you get to move, and whatever color you land on determines what lenses you put in and what color kind of card that you have to pull. But the other twist is that you have to draw a picture. So you'll draw a card, you get a time limit, you'd start to draw the picture, and your partner, it's kind of like charades, has to guess what it is that you're drawing. And if they get it within the time limit, then you pass on to the next round. But if you don't get the answer right, then it skips to the next group.
But the difficulty is that the lens selection makes it difficult to see the initial image, I'm guessing?
Right. Imagine putting on drunk goggles and then trying to draw a picture. But every time you get a different color, the difficulty of the lens could increase or could get easy. So there's the first set of lenses is like the easiest ones to see through. The second set of lenses gets more difficult, and the last set of lenses, it's almost impossible to draw and get your coordination correct to make a coherent picture.
I'm not gonna lie, as a colorblind, nearsighted non-artist, this sounds like a bad time for me. But I'm glad you had fun with it.
Well, it's a game for the kids, really. So
of course,
it gets laughs out of them, being goofy. So it's a lot of fun for them.
All right, well, thank you so much for answering my questions. Before we move on to the suggestion segment, did you have any questions for me, or are you ready to move on and start throwing some titles out there?
Yeah, I guess I'm good.
So, one of my first thoughts when it comes to television is, although I understand that we talked a little bit about some dramas that we were interested in too, I hope you would also have a certain fondness and respect for comedic shows too, especially ones that aren't just low-hanging fruit sitcom kind of, some shows that require a little bit of, thinking and analysis to really enjoy. One of such shows that is really an evolved sense of humor that I think you're going to understand is Documentary Now.
Okay.
Which, have you heard of that?
No, I can't say I have.
It's it's a collaboration between two of my favorite comedians, Fred Armisen of Portlandia and Bill Hader of SNL.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
So it's a IFC show. It was on the same channel, I think, as Portlandia was, the same company. All I have to say is, regardless of whether or not you're a fan of documentaries or not, you will still find it hilarious. And I can recommend at least 2 or 3 episodes that I know you're going to find funny. I definitely want you to check that out.
Okay.
For movies, to go back to our conversation earlier, I don't know if you've seen this, but we talked a little bit about playing the drums too, and there is no better drumming movie, I think, in the last 50 years than Whiplash. And J.K. Simmons delivers an haunting and intimidating, but a powerful performance. And as anybody who has ever grown up playing music will understand, band conductors can be a little bit intimidating. And, I think you're in for a wild ride. I think it's going to be I think you're going to have more anxiety watching this than you will probably the last horror movie you've seen.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Regardless, you will enjoy it. In terms of music, however, if we were speaking a little bit about hard rock and metal and things like that, there's a brilliant YouTuber by the name of Jonathan Young who takes requests of all kinds, from anime show intros to Disney songs to SpongeBob song. Like he will take any part of your childhood that you remember fondly and turn it into this incredible badass metal song that you will just have a whole new appreciation for, and you will fall in love with it all again. He's super creative. You're gonna go through his list, his library of music, and be like, oh, I remember that from The Lion King or something like that, and it's just totally transformed into something new and awesome. So Jonathan Young is gonna be my musical artist.
Okay. All right.
Because you're a fellow YouTuber and you know what it means to help out smaller channels, I'm gonna recommend a website to you called Petite Tube.
Okay.
Which the premise is it's just stripped down. It's just nothing but videos, YouTube videos that will just auto-populate every time you refresh the page that have 0 to like maybe less than 10 views. You will find the most random, insane shit, and nobody will have seen it because nobody subscribes to these channels, because it's usually like a child or like an elderly person uploading something by mistake or something. Like it's just nonsense. But I think it's going to be a fun time, and I'm interested to see if you can catalog. You don't have to literally save them, but if you can remember or write down some of the videos you see, I'd love to hear what you came up with.
You may have just given me an idea for some content as well, so that
shit, man. No, that would be great. I've seen other YouTubers do exactly that. That's how I got the idea.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely check it out. Now, why don't you go off with some of your recommendations for me?
Okay, for let's see, for TV shows, I feel like this show didn't really get a whole lot of credit. It's a mini-series. I've never really seen a whole lot of people talk about it, but I feel like the way that this was filmed and the kind of story that they presented with this mini-series really kind of made me want to see more of the story, but they'll never give it to me. So it doesn't end on a cliffhanger, but it definitely left me wanting, but not in a bad way. And that show was The Night Of. I don't want to spoil anything about the show. I'm just going to tell you that it was about a young man who is at the wrong place at the wrong time, and is arrested for a crime he didn't commit.
Okay. Is it based on a true story, or is it a totally original,
if I'm not mistaken, it is a
story?
completely original story that was written for the show.
Cool.
As far as movies are concerned, I don't know how versed you are or how exposed you are to cinema, but one of my actual favorites from my early 20s is American History X, and that focuses around...
Well, see, that's something that, again, I've been meaning to watch just over 100 times and just have never done it, because I feel like I'm going to be freaked out by it, or so. It's intimidating to look at from the outside in, but you know what? So it's like a movie that, I don't know if you've ever seen A Clockwork Orange.
Yes.
Which is sort of very uncomfortable. Like, is it kind of like that in a
It's
way?
got its moments where you are going to be uncomfortable. There's definitely, and I want to say cringe, but not in the way where you're like, ooh, they shouldn't have put that in there. It's cringe in the way that it's like, ooh, I couldn't imagine existing in an environment like this. And it's a bit of a redemption story, but it's also kind of sad towards the end. So I don't want to spoil anything.
I do love feeling sad,
but it's definitely gonna toy at your heartstrings a little bit. There, it's gonna make you mad. You know,
it's gonna make me a Nazi sympathizer.
Definitely not. If anything, it's going to teach you how people can learn to actually change their behavior to become a better person, regardless of what their background is.
Yeah, and don't give me any more information.
Yeah, I don't want to. It's definitely go watch it today.
Right.
For music, I'm gonna give you two different suggestions. The first one is going to be Low Roar, and I can't tell you specifically what country they're from. I want to say they're a Swedish band, but the two songs that I'm going to suggest to you by Low Roar are Easy Way Out and Breathe In. They have this very somber, ambient sound to the music. The lyricist sings, I don't want to say softly, but there's definitely a soothing sound to his voice.
It's a unique sound.
And then the next one is going to be by a more, I want to say he's kind of like an indie folk artist by the name of Sean James. And the three songs that come to mind would be Flow, The Thief in the Moon, and Through the Valley. Yep, Through the Valley is the other one. Through the Valley is another one that was in a video game trailer. I don't know if I mentioned with Low Roar earlier. I found Low Roar through a video game trailer. And the same thing happened with Sean James. I found out about him through another video game trailer. Ironically enough, Through the Valley is that song. And the video game that had the song in its trailer is a bit of a controversial subject right now. That would be The Last of Us 2. Yeah, a little bit of controversy surrounding that game right now.
Okay, well, I got them all written down here. I'll be happy to check both those.
I definitely recommend all of that.
Sweet.
And I guess for the last thing that I'm going to give you, since you gave me a website, I'm going to give you a YouTuber. I feel like a lot of people don't know about this person, which is kind of hard to believe considering he has 738,000 subscribers and 139 videos. That's nothing to slouch at. The Gaming Historian. Not
to be confused with the Internet Historian.
No, not at all.
This is
quite a different individual. Yep. As far as video recommendations, man, I recommend almost everything on his channel. He's got almost an hour-long documentary about the story of Tetris. He goes into extreme detail about the entire history of that game, how it was created, how it was getting licensed.
My favorite game. I'm looking over his channel right now. There's a lot of stuff here.
You'll find a lot about Nintendo, all kinds of different stuff.
Shit. All right. I'm gonna drop a sub right now.
Yep.
And I'm gonna get started on this probably pretty soon. So we've got at least a week or two, or however long it takes to get around to doing this stuff. I understand both our lives are pretty hectic. Before we go for today, real quick, you want to tell the people one more time about your channel, maybe what it is, where they can find you, and what they can look forward to?
Oh, yep. You can find me on YouTube at Digital Goon. It's pretty clear cut where you can find me at. I'm also on Twitter at digital_goon. I'm on Twitch by the same name, digital_goon. I don't really plug any of my other socials because I don't use them too much. I am on Facebook and I am on Instagram, but I'm hardly ever over there. Twitch and YouTube and Twitter seem to be the three main places that you can find me. So again, YouTube, Digital Goon, Twitter, digital_goon, and the same goes for Twitch, digital_goon.
Well, that's where we can find just you, and if people out there are looking carefully, they might be able to see you appear in some other videos on other channels.
Yeah. You might have seen me talking with Wes Mose. He still owes me my gold chain that he stole from me.
Isn't that so weird? I had him on my show too, and I found a bunch of my silverware was
missing. Yeah. He stole a gold chain and a bottle of cognac from me. So One day I'll get him back, but
He yelled at me and said it was my fault.
Yeah. Seems like he's busy with Vincel, so.
Oh, Vince.
Yeah.
I'll get him on the show.
Yeah, poor Vince. Well, wait.
What has he never done? Not acted like a jackass?
Oh, I hate that guy so much.
I do too. Just when you think he's gone.
Yeah.
Well, this isn't the Vince show.
Sorry. Thought I was out. Yeah. They pulled me back in.
That's exactly right. Well, shit, this was a lot of fun, man. Thank you. We're going to reconnect in a couple of days after we've had a chance to review everything. Thank you so much. Yeah. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
You too.
And until next time.
Yep.
Bye.
All right.
And we're back. It has been about 2 weeks since I last spoke with my friend Mr. Goon. Or is that your father's? Should I say Digital?
Mr. Goon was my father's name. Digital I prefer. Or Digi.
The old Dig. The Digmeister, as he was known in college. Yes, of course. We have had some time to review each other's suggestions, and we're just going to jump right into it. First, why don't we start with television? You told me to check out The Night of, an HBO miniseries, which, going by the track record of every other HBO miniseries I've ever watched, I knew it was going to be good. You were something that was a common theme throughout the suggestions is the brief description you gave to sort of set it up was almost incredibly apt and succinct with what it was. I believe you described this as a guy caught up and just everything goes wrong, and he's in the wrong place at the wrong time. And yes, that is the case. He was so close to just not. I mean, I don't want to give much away either, but he found himself in the main character found himself in a pretty bad situation. It's very obvious that he is not a bad guy himself. He did make some pretty foolish choices, but I'm very anxious to see where this leads. I had to walk away after the first episode. I was too worked up. You got to promise me right now. You don't have to, but I mean, does it have a happy ending?
I don't want to say. I don't want to give any expectations. All I can say, like I said before, was that at the end, it definitely leaves you wishing that they would continue it. And unfortunately, it's a limited series, so the ending is the ending, and that
Bastards.
is it.
Sons of bitches. All right.
It's like how they ended Breaking Bad, where, Walter, unfortunately, I don't want to say that anything. Well, you know what? It's been a long enough time since that show's been out. If you haven't watched it by now, I don't care about spoilers. They end Breaking Bad with Walter passing.
Being freed completely and exonerated, and
he never did anything wrong. He was just a guy, exactly. And his family moved to Mexico, and
happily ever after.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, no, it definitely leaves you wanting more, and the unfortunate side effect is that there is no more beyond the ending.
Well, I'm gonna probably message you in a few weeks once I've caught up to the ending and let you know what I think.
Okay.
I would, if I were to give it a rating out of 10, just the first episode alone, easily an 8 out of 10, I would say.
I think that's fair. That's a fair assessment.
And how about you? What did you have the pleasure of watching?
So for TV, you gave me Documentary Now, and I don't really have anything bad to say about any of the episodes that you suggested to me. Right away, the first episode I got immediately because it's Grey Gardens, so I was pretty familiar with the actual Grey Gardens documentary. The following two episodes, I didn't really know what they were making a parody of, but I still enjoyed them nonetheless because I do like Fred Armisen and Bill Hader. I think they're both really, really funny. And then finding out that Documentary Now was a, what's his name, Lorne Michaels? Mm-hmm. Finding out that that was one of his productions and knowing that Portlandia was also one of his productions just kind of reinforced my thought process of, well, I'm going to like this regardless. I especially loved the door-to-door globe salesman episode. I feel like that, like the Grey Gardens one was hilarious, and turning both of those women into potential murderers was just hilarious. But the door-to-door globe salesman who's down on his luck and just can't get the sale, and just has a cold streak. I don't know why, but to me it was hilarious. It was priceless.
Because he like, how many times was he so close and then he just said something at the last minute to totally just ruin
it, just absolutely ruin it. And I mean, even go on as far to say, like, talking about the man's daughter's breasts,
15-year-old daughter.
Wildly, just wildly inappropriate, something you would never actually say, and he just manages to flub the whole thing every time.
Oh, Fred Armisen is so funny. I love him.
Yeah, he's really, really good. I've always liked him.
Out of 10, what would you say?
I'd give it about the same, probably an 8 out of 10. I definitely will probably sit down and watch some more of it as opportunities arise.
Even I haven't watched every episode. I've sort of skipped around, and I gravitated towards the episodes where I had seen the documentary that they're talking about, and that does make it all the more funny, I think, to know what they're parodying. But the one straight up, a couple of them I just saw at random that really made me laugh. So and
that's kind of the great thing about watching a show like that is that you don't have to watch any episodes in sequence. You can just pick a couple of episodes and watch them and go from there. It's almost like treating it like an anthology series where you don't need to know anything about previous seasons or episodes. You can just dive right in, watch a couple, and get your laughs in, and then move on to something else.
That's right. Movies. We gave each other a couple of dramas. Something I had been meaning to watch for a long time. American History X. I don't know why I thought it was going to be super fucked up. Maybe it was overhyped for me. It was pretty... Oh, it definitely had its moments. Very interesting film style choice, editing, the transition from black and white to color consistently to show flashbacks. I mean, that's nothing new, but I mean, like 60% of the movie is almost a flashback. But you find yourself liking early on a character who by other means should be hated. I can't help but, cheer Edward Norton on when he's winning at basketball, but he also has this giant swastika on his chest, so it's like
makes you feel bad.
He better have some sort of big redemption arc. and sure enough, he comes around. He does. I thought the ending was, I don't know, maybe I'm just a hopeful optimist that I was just hoping everything was going to be okay, but it wasn't. And it's one of those tragic but very much like real life endings where sometimes the worst people don't get what's coming to them, and somebody who is sort of caught in the crossfire is the one that ends up paying the price. But I found myself engaged beginning to end. I really liked the story it told and how it was told.
I really liked the character arc he went through. I loved how he was. He was at no point ever surrounded by anybody who was a positive influence on him until he found like one guy in prison. And even then, a majority of the prisoners, the other white supremacists, were also just feeding into the hate. And he sort of had this breakthrough moment when he realized that he's like, you know what, like, this is kind of exhausting.
Right.
Fucking just hate people all the time. And he sort of came around to a bit of an understanding. It's a good message. I liked it. Definitely dramatic. Definitely violent at times. It's got a little bit of everything. I'm going to go again with an... maybe I'll say 8.5 out of 10. The more I thought about it after I watched it, my initial walkaway reaction was like, whoa. Like, you know, that was pretty heavy. And I had more time to think about it as the weeks went on. And... certain things just kept resonating with me, so I really enjoy it. I'll say 8.5 out of 10.
So for me, you gave me Whiplash, and unfortunately, I think we talked about
Whiplash.
this.
Oh God.
Briefly, yes, and I will see you in court. I'm a victim.
How fitting.
Unfortunately, I have not had a chance to watch Whiplash yet. I've been kind of busy with the kids and taking care of some other things that have been going on. So it was just one of those situations where I couldn't find the time to sit down and watch an entire movie because I was so preoccupied with other things that I was doing. So I can't give you a score yet because I just
Well, how
haven't.
about this? I'm going to postpone posting the video until you do get around to watching it. Just send me... I've done this before, somebody who didn't have time to do something. Just send me a brief, like, two-minute audio clip of your reactions to it whenever you get around to seeing it.
Okay, yeah, I'll try to do that. I'll probably try to watch it this week sometime. Like, I'm just going to have to make time to do it because I don't really have too many plans this week.
What the hell am I paying you for? Come on.
Yeah, the kids don't have a whole lot of schoolwork left to do because technically they're getting ready to be on summer break. So
that's right.
We're only doing like one assignment a day at home. You know, that's all I'm making them do, and then they're free to do whatever. So,
well, how dare you prioritize your own children over my
right? I know,
show.
right? Like I should just throw them in the dumpster. They're not.
I'm regretting this already,
Yeah,
but I am still anxious to hear what you have to say when you eventually see it. But good to know you are planning on seeing.
Right.
Music was actually something I checked out way late, like very recently. I did take some notes. You gave me two artists, Sean James and Low Roar. Not quite similar, like they definitely had some stuff in common with one another. I can definitely tell the type of music that you're into if you enjoy this stuff. Low Roar gave me some very slow, trippy, relaxing vibes, something you would hear like during the season finale of a big drama or something, or like an episode of Black Mirror as it's playing off, you know, and you're just left like trying to make sense of everything. Very cool. Sean James gave me Kaleo vibes. I think that was the artist that song, the "Oh, way down we go," like that sort of folky, like hard, you know, kind of folk rock beat vibe. Really enjoyed it. I could tell you said you heard these in other soundtracks of video games, and I was like, oh yeah, that would definitely be fitting for a video game trailer or something like that. So I really enjoyed it, and it's definitely it's made my way into my playlist. So good on you, because I'm going to continue to listen to it and check them out. So both artists, I would give production-wise, lyrically, sound. It just hits a type of chord where that type of music I am already pretty into, and then it's just performed very well. So I'll go ahead and give them both a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, that's why I suggested them as both of those artists, is because I feel like it's something that almost everybody could listen to, because it's nothing like overly offensive or anything like that. It just, and sometimes I feel like if you were looking at the lyrics, that most people can relate to what's being written there. For you had given me, because I always forget this guy's name, and I got it mixed up before, and we had talked about
Jonathan Young.
Yes, Jonathan Young. So I dropped a sub on him immediately after like maybe one or two songs that I listened to, and I can't remember them exactly what they were, but based off of what you told me, he does a lot of like cover songs of like different anime intros and outros, Disney tracks. and just various like pop culture songs, and makes a lot of references to very, very popular music. Like I said, I subbed immediately. There was nothing in particular that stuck out to me. If I had to go and look at him right now and just see what I listened to immediately, what did we say? How dare you expect professionalism from me?
It's the beauty of editing. We can make this
right. I noticed he did a lot of JoJo covers, which was pretty interesting. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and
there was a period of time where I was following him, and I was like, "Oh my god, another JoJo!" Like, Jesus.
The Evangelion, A Cruel Angel's Thesis was definitely one track that stuck out to me because I'm a big Evangelion fan. So that was definitely one that I was like, yeah, I'm totally on board with this. And Toss a Coin to Your Witcher. That was the moment where I subbed right away. Because I'm a fan of The Witcher. I really, really liked the Netflix production of that. I can't wait for the second season, and I really liked that song. I thought it was a pretty cool, unique song that they wrote for the show, and then to have someone do like a heavy metal cover of that just felt really, really fitting. So overall, just on those two tracks alone, I gotta say I'd probably give him 8.75 to a 9 out of 10.
Sweet. You can tell he's very open to like fan suggestions because it covers everything. There's nothing he won't cover.
Yeah, I'm seeing like Fallout Boy and lots of anime stuff. The Witcher. He's pretty well stretched out.
Lastly, you had recommended to me a YouTube channel, The Gaming Historian, and once again your analysis of likening the content to like a PBS documentary, exactly on point. I had to go check out the Tetris one because Tetris is my shit. What I didn't expect was a lesson in Cold War history. What was surprising though was how engaged I was with it and learning the backstory behind it's a puzzle game. Like, how interesting could it be? The answer is very interesting. And went through a lot of holes, went through a lot of hoops just to get the thing off the ground. And then even then there was like licensing issues and problems with the USSR government. There were people ripping off Tetris. It was a mess.
Yeah.
But a masterful game. Now, after having watched it, easy to see why it was such a success. I really liked it, and as somebody who's only has a novice level knowledge, I'd say when it comes to video game history, I'm looking forward to watching more. I love long form informational things like that about subject matter I'm interested in that I could just listen to. So that is going to be something I'm really going to enjoy going forward. I don't know if it's fair to necessarily rate an entire channel based on one video, but the one I did watch, I would rate production quality, everything, like a 9 out of 10, maybe even a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I think what makes him so engaging is the fact that like just the way he presents the content, and like we were saying before, it's very PBS like documentary style.
Thorough. Yeah.
Right. And he really has his information organized. He really gets into the details of everything. And he even pointed out the fact that it took several years for the original creator of Tetris to even receive any kind of royalties for something that he had created. And I believe if I remember correctly, I've only listened to that documentary once, but I want to say he didn't receive any kind of money or royalties from it until he relocated to the States, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. I can't remember 100%.
Yeah, it was wild. It was a mess. Yeah.
So for you had told me about Petite Tube, and you told me that it wasn't a porn site.
That is correct.
And then I looked it up, and it took me to a porn site. Turns out I spelled it wrong, so that's not your fault.
Got him.
So yeah, but we had discussed how it was kind of like that. that these people don't exist kind of website, except for it's for just completely random videos that don't get views. And so I just kind of clicked through. I couldn't really tell you like a specific video that stuck out to me, but just seeing how the website works and just how you can click that button and it just randomly pulls just any kind of video off of YouTube or wherever on the internet. I wish I had a chance to look into it a little bit further, but it's definitely something I'm going to take a look at hopefully really, really soon, because it's definitely like a mine for content, especially based off of how random the videos can be. It's an interesting opportunity to see what kind of stuff is out there in video format that you may not ever see ever.
Every other video for me was like from India, and it was some guy with a selfie and like 100 different video effects and blasting music of his own selfie.
I'd say that's about the same of what I noticed was just like the worst quality, just random like autistic screeching. No offense to autists, but oh god. Okay, I'm so glad
there's some hidden gems in there for sure. But yeah, most of it is just garbage.
Yeah, I'm gonna spend a day one day just deep diving through that website, not the porn one. And
you've already done that. Yeah.
Too late. Yeah, I've already had my fill of that one. But I'm gonna spend a day just kind of like deep diving and just seeing what I can find, and whatever becomes the most interesting, I may do like a quick little reaction video to whatever I find, because it's interesting that they set up a website with an algorithm that can just pull whatever from the internet like that.
It's cool. It's fun to explore deep rabbit holes. We're all about that shit.
I give it an 8 out of 10 for just being so random.
Lovely. We seem to have a pretty good idea and understanding of what we would find interesting for each other, so that's good. This has been a lot of fun. Stay tuned in just a moment for the final thoughts regarding the film, Whiplash. Digital Goon, I want to thank you again for joining me today. You are a very busy, busy, busy man, so I'm going to let you get back to your busy, busy, busy life. If you want to let the people know where they can find you and what kind of content you create, go ahead. Now is your chance to plug.
Yep. You can find me at youtube.com/c/digitalgoon, or just, YouTube Digital Goon. You'll find me there. You can also find me on Twitter at digital_goon. My handle is the same. And then I also leave my social media links in my description box as well. Patreon link, all that other stuff is down there as well. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I should probably tell you the kind of content that I make. It's a commentary channel. I talk about various controversial topics, and I attempt to call out undesirable individuals, as well as attempt to make commentary videos, which have not been successful, but one day they will be.
Well, you rock, man. I appreciate you coming out today. I look forward to working with you maybe again in the future. Until then, this has been the Never Ever Show with Heisenberg White. See you guys next time.
All right, so for movies, you gave me Whiplash, and not literally, but the actual movie Whiplash, and I had a little bit of preconceived notions going into it, based off of, trailers that I had obviously seen in the past, and I just had this, I guess, misappropriated idea of what I thought this movie was going to be. Let me go ahead and say, like, off the rip, 10 out of 10. It was a fantastic movie. Absolutely loved the ending. Absolutely loved that, like, almost like a redemption story for both characters, realistically. Both Terrence Fletcher and Andrew, I feel like both were redeemed by the end of the movie. Really liked the cinematography. Really loved the music. Being a person who loves drums, and then just multifaceted music. Like, I really, really like all kinds of different music. And this was just, like, excellent. I understand why this movie won as many awards, not rewards, but as many awards as it did. Fantastic movie. I would absolutely recommend anyone who has not watched it to watch it. Fantastic.